you do the grid.
She's looking. She's at the.
For those of you that are back on, there is a chat button at the bottom of your screen. During this process, you guys will be muted. For me, I won't hear you because it'll be distracting. And then, you know, several questions will come in at once and people talking or the doorbell ringing. So at the end of the class, I'm going to unmute everybody and then maybe you could show me, you know, what you're working on or your product. At 6 o'clock, I'm going to start everything and give you a little demo and talk about what I do. If you have a question during the class, you hit the bottom chat button and on my right side of the screen, I'll be able to see it. I'm Michelle. See a lot of friends out there. It's great.
Hi. Why is my picture not coming up? Well, it doesn't matter.
Are you in Eastham?
Are you muted?
No, she might have already. Did she mute
You
us
muted
already?
it, I think.
No, I took it.
You did?
Let's see, I don't have anything.
Hi, Karen. I can't hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
If there's anyone who cannot see me or hear me, hit your chat button. Let me know. I could see some of you pop in, pop out. I could see your names on my sidebar.
Hey, Michelle.
Hi.
I have no idea.
Abigail Grillo, I know that name. So 5 minutes, we're gonna start. I'm gonna wait for more people to come along. I'm gonna start about 6. It will run 30 minutes or so. And then we could do questions, we could chat.
Hi, Michelle.
I'm ready to eat. So I have a question coming in already. What temp should my broth be? Before I even get into the introduction, I am going to say it should be simmering. Mine is simmering because it has to be, we don't want to stop the process of the cooking of our risotto by adding a cold broth or anything. That it won't make that much difference, but it will have to start all over again and reheat up. So you want your broth simmering. It says 5:56. I'm going to start in a few more minutes. And, but that is the first thing I want to tell everyone. If you are cooking along with me, have your chicken broth, beef broth, vegetable broth. You can have water too, water works. And it's better to have more broth than less broth because rice is a natural product. It's a grain and it may absorb more or less. I like my risotto creamy. I tend to add more broth. And I'll get into this during the class. And then when I have leftover risotto, I put it in the refrigerator. The next day I mix in some eggs, breadcrumbs, and I make meatballs with it. And we call that arancini. So, and that's a great leftover dish with it. I made some French provincial chicken today. That's been in the oven. That's a braising technique. I'm gonna have that with the risotto for dinner. I'm in quarantine with my daughter who works in Boston. I also work in Boston. I teach cooking for CocuSocial. So we've got just a couple more minutes and we're ready to get started. Once again, if someone cannot hear me or see me, hit the chat button and just type it in. So at this point, I'm assuming everyone can. This Zoom is so much fun. Last night, with my family, we have trivia night, and my daughter, my oldest daughter, set up Jeopardy night. And I did realize there's a lot I don't know, but it was really just fun that, you know, hour or two of connecting is, it's keeping me sane along with cooking and my cooking projects. I'm looking at the screen because every time someone logs in, I'm getting a notification. So right now I have about half the people logged in. So it's 5:59. I'll start in 1 minute.
Hi, Michelle. Lisa B here.
Hey, Lisa, how did you, I'm going to mute you.
That's fine.
I'm muting everybody until the end of the class so I don't get distracted with hearing everybody. And then I don't hear, I don't know, you never know what's going on in someone's house. Arguments, the dog's barking, the baby's crying. So we have about half of the participants already on. This is fun. I don't feel like I'm alone. Let's see.
No, I know. Sorry. I can't hear you.
You can't hear me? Is there anyone that can't hear me? Hit the bottom, the chat button, and just type in, because so far everybody can. When you log on, if any of you have, if you could mute yourself, just for now, I'm muting you, just so we could continue the class without hearing someone's, dog doorbell or who knows what. So, and then at the end of the class, I'm gonna unmute everybody or you unmute yourself and you could show me your product. It is 6:01, so I'm gonna get started. My name's Michelle. I'm a chef for CocuSocial. I teach culinary classes in Boston. My most famous class is the macaron, which is that pretty little cookie you'll see in a bakery. I teach pasta, homemade pasta. I teach paella. I teach dumplings, filled things, whatever. I've worked as a chef here on Cape Cod. You're in my Cape Cod kitchen, and which was beautiful today, but we have a snowstorm coming tonight. I've had a great experience working for CocuSocial, and because it's such a challenging time right now. In many ways, we could talk about this the whole time. I really appreciate CocuSocial saying, hey, we've got to get out there. We've got to get our chefs out there to make money. And CocuSocial means cooking socially. And that's what I do for my class. You'll come into my class. We're going to make something really nice. You might grab a glass of wine, your water, your tea, and we socialize because we all connect through food. So it's really, really fun job that I have. And it's hard for me to be in the house all the day, all the time. And, I don't watch the news as much because, for me, one loss from coronavirus was too many. And I'm sure you all agree. This is a different life for us. And like I said, this is my outlet now. CocuSocial is supporting us chefs and supporting us socializing through the internet. If you do want to do more classes with CocuSocial, you could go on CocuSocial.com. If you have like parties you want to do or corporate events in the future, support chefs, gift cards, hello@CocuSocial, you can email them. We're on Instagram. If you have any pictures tonight or anything you'd like to share, at CocuSocial.com on Instagram. So I'm going to get started. So I'm in my kitchen. I think everyone can see. And I will be coming up to the screen because I want you to see everything I'm doing. I have my mise en place. I'm cooking a simple risotto dish. So I chose this dish because most people have butter, oil, rice, water, some type of broth, etc. in their house. And once you learn the basic risotto, you could do a million things with it. And you could also cook it the way you prefer it. So I'm gonna do a traditional, simple Parmesan risotto. And it's fairly easy. I have my ingredients. I have my risotto rice. And I'm gonna bring this up here because I want everyone to see the risotto. It's very white and small. I'm gonna show, you could see the difference between a regular rice and arborio or starchy rice. The reason why we use arborio rice or starchy rice, which you could even use sushi rice, you could use any rice. It'll be a little different. The arborio or the starchy rice, it's small and round. It's a grain. It has a husk on the outside, a germ in the middle that you don't really see, and around it is the carbohydrate, which is your sugar. So as it absorbs the liquid, it cooks it and it tenderizes it, but it also releases a starch, which is the creaminess of your dish. So we have our rice. I have salt. I always keep plastic containers around my stove area. I really don't like glass. As a chef in a kitchen, we never have glass. A piece of glass is really dangerous, so you don't want that. I do have my olive oil. I usually use my favorite bottle of wine. I clean it out when I'm done, and I put some fresh, only olive oil, and it has to say on your container, 100% olive oil. There's a lot of places out there that will say olive oil blend, et cetera, et cetera. And it's probably filled with hydrogenized products, which is really not good for you. I put a little bit of wine here, and I'll get to that. I have my onion. I'm going to show a little onion skill. I have some garlic. I have my shredder to go with my little wedge of Parmigiano Reggiano. Whatever I have, you don't have to have the same thing. You may have a jar or one of those tubs of grated Parmesan. I like Parmigiano Reggiano, and it has a nutty flavor, and I really like it. And you can see on the sides, I can always tell it might look like it's old or molded, and that is just a characteristic of it. And this comes from Italy. I have butter. So you have butter. I have my mom's butter dish, so I always keep my butter next to the stove like she did. And for garnish, I like basil, and this is all the basil I could get right now. So I will show a little chiffonade of basil. You have your broth here. It's over a simmer. Mine's been over a simmer for a while. So, and I have a gas stove. You see, I'm heating it up and I'm turning it down to a low simmer. I'm going to, something just happened. Okay. You can see me? Okay. That's good. So I'm going to put some olive oil in this pan. I'm going to bring it to medium, low heat. And then I'm going to cut up my garlic and my onion, and I'm going to sweat it in this pan. I've got a little, there's just a little bit going on my screen, and my daughter's going to sneak in and help so she doesn't interrupt. I don't interrupt.
Okay, so it says, hey, what were the instructions you gave at the beginning about the vegetable broth? I missed that. I just joined. Can you repeat that?
Yes, I'm actually gonna go through most of these questions as we're cooking. So thank you. So first thing, in the vegetable broth, I am gonna get to that. I wanna get us started because there's a period where we're stirring a lot and we have lots of time for chatting and answering questions. So I add the olive oil to my pan. You have measured ingredients just for a reference. I eyeball it because that's what I'm used to it. You know, when you're a chef and you have 60 people walk in and sit down for dinner, you're used to move. So I'm gonna add a little of my olive oil. It could be any kind of olive oil. And I'm going to add some of my butter. I'm not gonna turn on the pan just yet because we should get the vegetable ready. I have my onion, and I already peeled one. And what I'm gonna do is the very end that's attached, I'm gonna slice it this way, but not all the way to the end. Not all the way to the end, then I don't have to worry about it falling apart. Then I'm gonna make slices down. Then, with my knuckles showing, I always hold it like this because then I won't cut my fingers. So I grip it, and be careful because most chefs do injure themselves with onions. They get slippery. So then I just go in and I cut it with my knuckles against my knuckles, and I put my onions in the pan. Now I can turn on my pan. I'm gas. If you're electric, I know it takes a little while for things to heat up, and we have plenty of time. So I'm turning it down medium. I'm going to get it started medium. We're sweating the garlic and the onions. That brings out the sugar. All vegetables have sugars. And back to, someone had a question on the vegetable broth. So I'm a vegetable person. So earlier today, I was cutting up onions and carrots for a stew I was making. So all my leftover remnants from, peeling carrots and onions go into a bowl. And when this bowl is filled, I'm going to put it in a sheet pan. I'll sprinkle a little olive oil. It needs a little bit of a heat conductor, which would be your oil or your fat. And I put it in the oven and roast it until I could smell it. I add it into a pot, cover it with water, and let it simmer, and you could have a nice vegetable broth. That way there's no waste in your kitchen. In most kitchens I've ever worked in as a chef, we have no waste. We have something for everybody and for everything. In making a broth, like a vegetable broth, there's, some of you may remember from chemistry, osmosis. You have a liquid, you add a solid to it, and at a boiling temperature, the liquid absorbs the properties of your solid. So, and we have timers for this. So like for chicken, it's 4 hours for chicken bones. For vegetables, 20 minutes. You'll have all the nutrients removed into the liquid form, and then you discard the solids. They're not going to be good anymore. My onion is starting to sizzle a little bit, and I'm going to add the rest of my onion. I'm going to chop up my garlic. Garlic goes in more at the end because if your garlic gets really brown, it's bitter. It doesn't taste good. I only like whole fresh garlic. I take my knife on it and I hit it, and then the peel comes right off. Just like that, it slides right out. Now I put this in my little bowl. You could cut your garlic any way you want. The bigger the piece, the more pungent, the smaller. Typically I'll, cut it in half. I lay them down. Once again, keep your knuckles out. Maybe another rough chop. I like to hold the end of the knife and just chop along. All right, my garlic's going in. You do not want these vegetables to start browning. You want to hear them sizzle. They're sweating, which means they're getting a little soft. You have some aroma. I have my broth. It's nice. It's at a very low simmer. It's nice and hot because when I ladle it in during this process, basically what we're doing is the risotto is, Rizzo in Italian means rice. This is a traditional dish that is commonly made in Italy, but it's very popular here. And it was their way of braising the rice so that all the starches come out. So even though the rice is going to absorb the liquid, you will still have a creamy sauce. Typically with a rice dish in the kitchen, we say, okay, if we have 1 cup of rice, the ratio is 1 3/4 cup water, but not for risotto. You just keep slowly, you add in, my ladle is about a 1/2 cup. I'll ladle in a couple at a time, and we'll go through this together, let it simmer. And then as it, gets a little, absorbed, we add more. And that just keeps building the tenderness of the rice and your sauce, that nice creamy sauce that it's in. I'm simmering. Now this is the most important part, and I can never pronounce this name. We're going to toast the rice before we add any liquid. And that's called tostatura, which I'm not Italian, but that's the toasting process. It seals the outside of the rice, which gives it, some flavor. And it also keeps it from maybe, if the outside is sealed a little bit, it won't get as mushy. And it creates great flavor. So now I'm going to take my risotto and I'm going to add it to my onion, my garlic that's been sweating. And turn up my heat a little bit more than medium so I could get that toasting. So it's going to start popping a little bit. You're going to see that the rice doesn't look so white, it looks more translucent. And you will, you'll hear like pop, 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 pop. And then when that happens, we're going to add a little bit of wine, cook that down, and you don't have to add wine. I do not have the wine that I usually use. I am a sommelier. I didn't even go over who I am yet. I will get to that. I am a food and wine expert, sommelier. I would typically, and I'm a terroir person, which means if the grape is grown in that area, I like the rice that comes from the area, the cheese that comes, because then you really have a good marriage of flavors because they grew in the area they're meant to be together. So with the risotto and the Parmesan and the Reggiano, I would say a Northern Italian white is what I would use. Pinot Grigio, citrusy, any Italian, you could use a red. Risotto Milanese is a very popular dish that's made with bone marrow. You could add a red. It's what you prefer. The wine is just for some flavor. You don't have to add the wine. You could add, I have a little bit of wine here, but if I didn't want, I could just add, I even have a little bit of vermouth. That's wine. My rice is toasting now. I hear it popping, popping, toasting. My tostatura is happening. So now I'm going to add a little bit of wine, and be careful with your heat. If you are going to add the wine, you're going to get a little steam. And you may be able to hear it. You can see the steam. So you can see better. I might even turn you guys down just a little bit. You can still see me, but you can't see more of the pot. Okay. So the rice it's absorbing the wine. And I'm gonna let it really cook down. I'm gonna put it towards high a little bit. It's bubbling, cooking. This will take a minute or two and it's gonna be evaporated. And it's a combination of evaporation and absorption. Evaporating means the alcohol will evaporate. So if there's someone you're making this dish with, and you did want to add the wine, the alcohol will cook off, and you'll have the flavor. But once again, you could even use, if you want to use lemon juice, you can use water, whatever. You don't have to do anything. This is, once again, I'm teaching you a traditional method. You can adapt at home how you like. So this is what it looks like. There's just a little bit of liquid left. It's just about evaporated. Now is risotto making time. I've got my nice hot liquid. I use chicken broth. As I said before, you can use, and I'm putting my heat on medium high. You can use any kind of broth. You could even use water. If you were to use water, the difference would be flavor. I know when my kids were young, they loved buttered mac and cheese, buttered pasta. So I would just cook the pasta in water, drain it, and add some butter and salt and pepper, and it was delicious. So you don't have to add a broth, but once again, I'm teaching the traditional method, and I like the chicken broth because it's, to me, chicken broth or chicken stock is, it's a broth of life. It has things made from the collagen of the chicken, all the vegetables, the nutrients. And once again, when I mentioned, when you're making a stock, you have all this water, and you're within a certain amount of time, you have all the properties of that solid that's in your pot. So for me, it was a great way when my kids were young to get them to eat nutritious without knowing they were eating nutritious. So now I'm at medium heat. It's going to simmer. I stir it here and there. There's lots of liquid in here. And then, I'll be showing you each stage. You can see there's lots of liquid. I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. You can see the liquid. I'm swirling it around. So it's still, very liquid. We're going to let that just continue to simmer. It's simmering. I'm going to just check for some questions. It should be bubbling. Okay, so that's good. So it's bubbling, it's cooking. You could cook this slower or faster depending on your time. I'm gonna run over a little bit with my time. I started a few minutes later, and I'm a chatterbox, so this is boiling, bubbling, medium, high heat. You could even do lower heat depending on how long you want to stand at your stove and cook. But I'm turning mine up just a little bit to get things moving along. There was a couple things I did want to mention. I had mentioned the broths, the wine, the cheese. Oh, what I did want to talk about was I'm making a basic Parmesan risotto. So what I did earlier is, because this is going to be my dinner, I made a chicken dish. Actually, I'll show it to you, because what I'm going to do is when I plate the risotto, I'm going to put a piece of that nice chicken and sauce right in the middle. A couple weeks ago, I did a Parmesan risotto class. I had some frozen peas and some shrimp. So with the shrimp, I put in olive oil, roasted it in the oven. And then the peas, I just took them up right out of the frozen bag and added them at the end, because then they wouldn't be mushy. And I had a nice like spring pea and risotto, shrimp dish. That was delicious. Let's see, I could show you this is my provincial chicken dish. So this is chicken and all types of vegetables and olives and onions and garlic. And that will go with my risotto tonight. And it may be more of a French dish, but basically Italian, that's all the Mediterranean area. So I'm ready for the next lathe. I'm boiling up. I still have sauce in the pan, but it's a little thicker. I think you can see. This is a big pan. I should have used a smaller pan. So you can still see the grains. The grains are not cooked. I'm gonna add another 2 ladles, a cup at a time. I'm turning mine up a little bit only because I want to get this done quicker for you. So you can cook it faster if you want by turning up the heat. It's just you want to make sure enough liquid goes down, not so your pan is dry. And this is just a method of where it's going to absorb more broth or liquid, because when you add the new liquid, it's absorbing it and it's releasing some carbohydrates and some sugars. If you were to put a pot of boiling water and add your rice at exact measurements, then it would be just perfect. I would call it perfect sticky rice. This is just a method. Like if I'm in a kitchen and someone comes in with a big, my favorite thing is when the fishermen come in with a snapper. First thing I do is I look at and I think, all right, what is the technique that is going to bring the integrity of this product out? So what we're doing is we're bringing out the integrity of this rice. We're making it taste the best way we can. We're respecting it. Just like the vegetables, I respect everything in the food or the animal. It's just a way of life for me, and I feel better about things. And with being in quarantine, standing here in my kitchen talking to everyone is making me feel better. I feel everyone's energy and it's good. I really hope everybody's doing okay. I will be, once this is over, I'll be back in class, which I love teaching in the classroom. So I'm in Boston. I had mentioned I teach pasta. You could go on CocuSocial.com. You could come to one of my classes. We always have so much fun. You could have online classes if you write to hello@CocuSocial.com. I've worked for many people cooking, and the business ethics of CocuSocial is amazing. It's on point. They're so good to us chefs and so supportive of it and spend so much time with us. I didn't even know what Zoom was until they, said, okay, well, we're gonna have a Zoom meeting. And immediately I was Googling right after, like, what is a Zoom meeting? So, okay, I'm almost ready for broth again. I'm gonna give it a little stir. You don't want the liquid to get so low that it's gonna stick to the pot. It needs to be liquidy the whole time. But you might notice as it's cooking, the sauce feels like it's thicker, because what that is the sugars being released from the grain, which is your rice. These, all vegetables, all grains, everything has sugar in it. There's just, they're components of they're a living thing. Like a vegetable will release its sugars, like when we were sweating the carrot and the garlic. Those happen to be very good sugars and very good for you. The rice is a carbohydrate. It's not full of nutrition, but that's why you could add so many things with it. I was telling someone, one of my favorite things to do, and any of you who know me, I'll take a big sheet pan, cut up carrots, parsnips, everything, olive oil, salt and pepper, put it in the oven at like 450, and you'll smell when it's getting ready. And then I'll just put that on top, the fresh vegetables, the risotto, some nice grated cheese. I'll grate my cheese over it. And then you really have a great nutritious dish. I was in India like 5 or 6 years ago, and all my friends there are Hindus. They do not eat any type of meat or anything by act of violence. So I'm looking around at everybody and I'm like, everybody's in such good shape and they look so healthy. And so I said to one of my friends, I said, you guys never have anything protein or, and they said, Michelle, have you ever looked at a horse? A horse is vegetarian. And that was the best way I could describe it, where it's about getting the right nutrition. So whether you're vegetarian or not, or if you don't have dairy products, you don't have to do the Parmesan. Do a nice salt and pepper. Salt is actually good for you. I get all my spices at a place on the Cape called Atlantic Spice. They're also online, and you can't poo-poo dried spices. They're so good. The tarragon, the dried tarragon, I keep containers here. I'll transfer their bags to a container, and I always mark everything, label and date it. So we're almost ready for another scoop. I'm turning my heat up a little bit to make it a little quicker. You can see the steam. You can see where now the liquid is evaporating a little bit. I'm about ready to add another couple scoops. That reminds me of something. So I'm going to add a couple more ladles, which is approximately a cup. As you can see, I like copper on the outside and stainless steel on the inside. Copper is a great heat conductor. Well, the actual heat conductor is your fat or whatever, but aluminum is the best in the kitchen for saute. When I was saute chef, we use aluminum saute pans because they heat up really hot right away. I like the quality of the heat for copper with stainless steel lined inside, forged, good, safe handles. And then, so if you have, a product like your burner, your gas or your burner or whatever you use, you have a pan, the way to conduct heat is through some type of liquid, whether it's water, olive oil, butter. So with the copper and with some type of fat, I feel that's the best heat conductor. That's my preference. I also keep in the kitchen, as chefs always have big things of spoons, because pretty soon I'm going to taste this, because some of you may like it a la dente, you may like it mushy. My kids liked it mushy and gooey and more like a mac and cheese style. So I'm going to be eating here, but I may be giving some of this to someone else. So each time I taste, I use a different spoon, throw the spoon in the dish, because I just respect everybody that's going to be eating my dish. And even though I'm very healthy, I'm very thankful. It's just, once again, integrity towards your food and being proud of it and respecting it. And And just generally, everything in life should be that way. So I'm bubbling, bubbling, bubbling. I could see the rice is expanding. It's absorbing the liquid nicely. I am not going to salt this or flavor this until towards the end when I taste it. My broth was not highly salted because there's nothing like getting to the end of your dish and it's too salty. Then it's over. So I'm going to check on questions. So someone mentioned sushi rice. So sushi rice is, you know, if I had a piece of sushi rice here and a piece of arborio, they look a lot alike. A couple times I made sushi here. I was in the mood for, so I used arborio rice, but you wouldn't cook it like a risotto. You would do 1 cup of sushi rice in a boiling pan with almost 2 cups of water, 1 3/4. Let it simmer, cover it. About 10 minutes later, turn off the heat. Don't take off the cover, let it go. And then you come back and you have nice sticky rice. You could add a little vinegar. I keep a little bowl of vinegar to wipe my hands because the rice sticks to it. I make them little balls and it's fun. So very similar, like, you know, I did actually spend some time in China, and I was amazed where I always assumed China was the rice capital. They're the noodle capital too. Every province had its own noodle or its rice. I did not have sushi in China, and most of the sushi rice I get is from Japan, but the regular table rice in China is very similar to sushi rice also. And then again, you have, in India, I would have typically the thinner long grain rice that has less starch and it has more of a bite to it. I think, you know, more of a, it's not as, well, it's not as starchy. I think I'm ready to taste it. It's really hot, but it looks so close now for me that I don't want to overcook it. So I have my little spoon here, and you can see I'm going to blow on it a little bit. Oh, it's good. I don't even need salt.
Hi, Michelle.
So you can see. I just heard someone say something, but I wasn't sure. Okay. I'm going to add the last 2 scoops. I'm going to turn off now my back burner. I'm going to stir my risotto. Also, if your risotto is, you feel too thick, you could add more broth. You could finish it with some cream. I'm going to grab a bowl for plating. I'm going to turn off, at this point, if I were not teaching in class, I would turn off the heat. There's still plenty of liquid in here, but it's al dente how I like it. And I could, if I were having company, I could just put a cover on it and walk away. You're going to have about 5% cooking time, meaning it's still cooking. So if you feel it's just right, shut your heat down. If you like it really well done, continue. Just remember, it will still continue to cook for another 5 minutes or so. So I'm going to plate my dish. And you know, I'll just put a little bit right in the middle. And you can see there's a little bit of liquid around it. I'm going to now my spoon. place my bowl here. I have my little grater. You can use whatever you want. I'm gonna grate some of my nice Parmigiano Reggiano. This thing I usually keep in the freezer and only take out when I need it. It's really expensive. You can use whatever you like. I have some nice cheese grated on top. I took my little basil leaves. These are about their last day. I went to our markets around here and there's no fresh basil. And I like to just go in and go out really quick. So I take my basil and I kind of wrap it up. And then with my knife, I don't chop it because it will bruise it. I slide it. I just slide it. I have my knuckles out. I slide it back and forth. And if your knife is sharp, it will do that. Then I take them and I unfold them, my little chiffonade, and I put them on top. I like pepper. I buy my own pepper at Atlantic Spice. They're peppercorns. I put it in actually my coffee grinder and I grind my own pepper because it's so delicious. And then I do a sprinkle on top. I didn't need to add any salt. And now you can see I just have this dish. I have my little clump of Parmesan here that came out, but that's okay. So now I'm going to taste it.
Do you add them?
Spoon. Perfect. Thank you for coming to my class. I'm looking at the time. I'm a little over because I do like to, I could just do this all day. I wish you all could just stay there all day and we could just, cook in my kitchen. And I did mention CocuSocial, and I like to mention them because I work for them. They've been good to me and they allowed me and they allowed you to come in. You came into my kitchen. Very small, but I like it. I have refrigerator, stove, cabinet. And I wish everybody the best. I hope I get to see some of you again soon. I hope that people are gonna stay healthy. I hope things will only get better. I would love to see some photos on Instagram if you have any. And like I said, if you're interested in classes, I gave you the website. I can't thank you enough because you made my day, all of you. I was so honored that people signed up to cook with me in my kitchen for a while. So I'm very grateful. Thank you. If I'm going to start looking for questions, if you want to unmute yourself, there's something I could help with. I think that's it. And if you're done, just sign out. And thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
It's Lisa. Question.
Yes.
You kind of mentioned this. So if you were going to do this for a dinner party, you could get it almost to done, just leave a little bit of the liquid in there and then heat it up at the end.
So for what we do in the kitchen, because if you've come to the restaurants I've worked at, we had risotto on the menu. So I would make the risotto, and before the last stage, when it was almost close to being done, but still chewy, we put it on a sheet pan with olive oil on it, cover it with plastic, and we'd put it in our walk-in, we call it speed rack. So then for service, if someone ordered risotto, I would take a scoop of that, put it in a hot pan with some cream or broth, and then add whatever I was going to add, and it would taste just like you've been sitting over the stove for a half hour.
Wow.
So we have those tricks. So you could make that the day before your dinner party. Just don't cook it all the way through. Put it in the fridge, and yeah, I mean, you're good.
And how much liquid should be in the pan when you're ready to serve? Like,
Well, that's also a preference. So if you're cooking it and you feel it should have more liquid, I like a little liquid around it, especially if you have some nice bread for dipping, but you could always add cream to it too. I always say keep extra broth because you could always put the extra broth back in your fridge or freezer, but you could adjust it. So if you don't have enough liquid, and you're getting it ready for dinner party, what I do is, let's see.
She an Easton or Wolfie? This was a Wolfie. No, she's
I always have extra of these, and I'm not working for Emerald, but I have extra of these in the refrigerator just in case I need more. Organic is the key. I like only things that are organic because once again, it's, just the, just being true to yourself, true to your product you're putting in, and your body is worth it. I mean, you're important. We're all important. And I think what's happening right now is we're realizing, wow, every life is just so important. This is crazy. We're all staying in the homes because I won't do anything because I don't want to carry it. I don't want to get it. And I'm scared because like everybody, we've never had this before. So.
Hi, Michelle. I just wanted to know if I wanted to add mushrooms to this, when is it a good time to add mushrooms?
So what I do, I don't like to add the vegetables early on because I like the integrity also of the vegetable. I tend to roast them and then add them at the end, but I would recommend maybe add them at the end, towards the end, the last 5-10 minutes, or you could saute them up earlier and then add them. I like, once a vegetable, you apply some oil or fat or whatever it is to it, and you're in a pan or it releases those sugars and it's just delicious and the flavor is good. I'm just not a big fan of boiled, anything that's getting boiled. So if you want to add any type of vegetable, add it towards the end. If you add it right away, it's going to be mushy.
All right.
And these are my opinions and techniques. Some people like that. My mother loved mushy vegetables. I never understood it.
Okay, and when do you know, you knew when to taste it, right? So is it sometime around when you add, say, about 3 cups of broth? Is that when you take a taste?
Yes, because I also saw the rice was expanding. It was getting bigger. And the first time you cook this compared to the fourth time you cook this, you'll then recognize the look. You'll know it. So that's why I recommend keeping some spoons at time, because like any time I ever cooked anything, I was unsure. I didn't even tell people my credentials. So I have a degree in gastronomy. So I studied, the food and stomach and the whole thing. And then I went off to Culinary Institute of America and I studied for years. And then I went to New York and studied at International School of Wine to be, food and wine expert and sommelier. So at this point, I could tell because I've educated so much in this and worked in the field. But still, I like anything. Like, when you're young and you make that box of Kraft macaroni and cheese, I mean, by the third or fourth time, I knew exactly how I liked it. I liked very little milk and I liked it really thick. You'll get there. Karen V, I could see you. So Karen, I made a chicken dish earlier and I added a jar of Castelvetrano olives on your So Karen's last name is Vetrano. So, but we went to high school together. So,
hey, Michelle, a quick question for you. It's Eileen Brooks.
I could talk all night. So
you added shrimp to your meal the other, how did you season and cook your shrimp? Because that's what I'm going to do tonight.
Oh, so what I do is I take the shrimp. I love olive oil. So I took some olive oil, pepper, just put it in a bowl, let it sit for a few minutes. Because what a lot of people don't realize is oil is a tenderizer. It will tenderize anything. People think acids will, like lemon juice or etc. That will give you flavor and actually toughen up your product. Oil is your tenderizer. So anything you want nice and tender, I do. And I do a little bit of salt. But if I were going to fry the shrimp, I'd fry it in butter because it browns so nice. So, but what I did with the shrimp was I was too lazy to fry it. Had it with the olive oil, a little salt and pepper, oven 450 on a tray. I took the peas out of the freezer, dunked them in frozen because I liked the texture of the pea. I didn't want it to get mushy. And then when I plated it, I placed my shrimp on top. It was delicious. I like a lot of Parmesan cheese. Once I'm off with everybody and I sit down and eat, I'll be grating. So, any other questions?
Thank you, Michelle. This is Val. I really loved it. I'm eating at the same time.
That's great. Thank you. I hope everybody's good.
Thank you.
I hope
Hi,
everyone's
Michelle.
good. Good night. Everyone stay safe.
Michelle,
Yes.
Michelle, it's Cindy.
Cindy, hi.
I know, I missed you.
I miss you too.
I love risotto, and this is the first time I ever made it.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, can I add mushrooms to it?
Yes, you can. So if
Okay,
you cook it tomorrow, it's going to seem thicker when it's in the fridge because remember you have butter in there that's going to solid up in the fridge. So add some extra broth, water, whatever. And like I said, never add too much of a flavor at once because if you over this, then it's like I've over salted things and I'm like, why do I do that? So do it at the end. So then you'll flavor at the end. And then, like I said, if I have it a third day, I'll add a few eggs, some breadcrumbs, make it in meatballs, roll it in
You need to tell everybody else.
meatballs with it.
Put half of the
Yum.
chicken in the pot just very quickly, right before you're ready to serve it. Then when you plate it, you put a little bit of cheese on each plate and a little bit of basil.
Yep, that's what I do.
Okay?
Yep, that's exactly what I do, and it's pretty. I like to make a big bowl and mound it a little bit with a little bit of cream around it. And then, if I were doing this
You
at
see
home,
that Dad doesn't like it at all.
I would probably have a baguette sliced up, toasted, a little baguette in there for, dipping and dunking in the
I think
butter.
they did a great job.
Hey, Michelle,
Yeah, I'll use
when
this.
this is done, you gotta come to Katuitt. Go play in our pizza oven with us.
I would love to, Karen.
We do a meat paella in the pizza oven.
If we get the green light to go, I'm out of here. I'm cooking again.
What do you want to add to it, Grace? Shrimp or mushrooms or chicken or? Oh, chicken would be good.
Oh, that's great. I'm watching right now. Someone else.
You guys can.
Michelle, I had this in my fridge, this squeezable basil.
That will work.
In these times, it worked
I mean,
perfect.
if you have a product like that, just put a little bit on your finger and taste it first.
Yeah.
You don't want to add it until you know it still tastes good.
I did. That's it, everything. It was delicious. I'm having little nibbles right now, and I'm going to serve it with some salmon.
I miss you. Oh, good one, salmon. There was a couple dishes I've made where it was more like a vegetable risotto, and then I did a nice like grilled salmon on top. That was a great summer dish.
Yep.
I'm anxious for summer because I like to go fishing. So I can't wait to get out there and go fishing. I've been, I like to go clamming, but right now the fishermen really need our support. So what I do is I go to the fish market every day. They had razor clams the other day. I'll get some clams or something. I'll get 2.5 pounds, and I'll cook some. And then my ritual is to give back. I bring the rest back out to the water and put them back in. And the other day I brought out some razor clams and they literally, when I put them back in the water, they literally looked at me like, thank you. Thank you. They kind of peeked out of their shell up at me and then they went right back down. So, I don't usually, none of us have lived like this before. So I'm finding ways to have fun and keep myself busy. But like tonight, I'll feel so good tomorrow because of tonight and seeing people and cooking and talking.
Yes, baby.
So I guess I'll say goodnight to everybody if there's no more questions. I will be on some other classes. I'll be
You look
teaching
beautiful.
classes.
You look beautiful.
Who's that?
It was Gavin Price.
My hair,
There you go.
my hair is.
I agree with that.
You really do. You really do.
But you know what? There's no room for vanity in a world like this. I'm not worried about it. I do tie my hair up when I cook because no one likes hair in their food. Hi, John. I can see John. I still see
Hello.
Karen. I see Lisa. Eileen. Hey, Eileen. I see you guys. Oh, this was so fun. And if you have any good.
You know what I envision, Michelle?
What?
I think this would be a really great work event for my people who are home. I'm going to call you about this because I don't know what this costs to plan for a group, but I'm all about, because this could really be fun. We could come up with something that's.
It's actually not an expensive venue at all.
I'm calling you. I love this. Yeah, this is.
You look good. Everybody looks good. I hope everybody's families are good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab my little glass of wine now. I earned it. It's Friday night.
It is Friday.
Everybody.
Michelle, what other classes do you teach?
I teach one, I just call it like tagliatelle. I also teach pasta where I roll it out because a lot of people don't have the pasta rollers, don't buy the pasta machines. Horrible. So teaching people how to make a nice pasta dough, which is easy. And these are all easy things, simple ingredients, poor man food.
Yeah.
And I also teach paella because up here on the Cape, any Cape Codders, you're welcome. I'm outside with my big paella pan. I have them right here. I don't go anywhere without them. They're hanging on my cabinets. I go outside. I take whatever vegetables I have, olive oil, fire up the grill, do that. And then if I have clams, I'll add everything in there.
Can you do a paella class next?
Then I close it or cover it, have a glass of wine, turn off the heat. And then when we're ready to eat, we have this big feast and it's fun.
Can you do a paella class next?
What?
Can you do a paella class next? I've never made that.
Yep, I do paella.
Let me know when you do that.
They're not necessary. We're trying to do things that people may not do normally or are interested in doing. If you have any suggestions or you're looking for anything, go on hello at CocuSocial, say, hey, I'd like to see this. I had a lot of people, some people coming to my class in Boston, they said, we really want to see this. So the next thing I know, my manager's like, hey, I think I'm going to put you on this class. And, but unfortunately everything got canceled. My last class was in March. And it was just sad because some of the people I worked with, we all kind of knew that was going to be our last night. And it was sad. So I really, I look forward to connecting with these people again and cooking with them. And
Hey, Michelle, I saw your beautiful paella pan. Can you share a link to where we can buy one of those?
all right, so you're gonna love this. So first of all, you could buy them on Amazon, all different sizes, cheap. So Amazon, Williams-Sonoma, all the high-end places has it. It's the same thing. In Eastham and Cape Cod, we have a transfer station with a swap hut. Bring your junk in and get junk. I find paella pans there all the time, and it's like I run to my car with it, like no one's getting this paella pan.
Oh my God, that's
Back sales, you'll find them, but they make the best. If in the summer, another thing I like to do is I take a chicken, cut out the backbone, split it open, spatchcock, and the paella pan is great for that. So heat up oil in that, season your chicken, stick it in the oven. Oh, it's so good. And if you have bricks outside laying around or rocks, wrap them up in foil, put them on top.
sounds great. You're the best.
Yeah.
All right, I guess I should go at 7 o'clock, and I'm on the corporate Zoom.
Hi, Gavin and Sue.
My love to everybody.
Hey, Gavin, Sue.
Hey,
Bye, everybody. Good to see everybody.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you.
Michelle, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Snow tomorrow, and Eileen, I'll talk to you about that.
I'm gonna call you because I see this as a great.
Hi, Justine. Hi, Rich.
I keep looking for things to bring them together. This is the answer. And a
Yeah,
little wine.
I see you now. California friends.
Yeah,
All right,
That's it.
I'm gonna sign off.
Adios.
Bye.
Thank you.
Leave meeting.